Aloha, and welcome to We Be the Change, Conversations with Conscious Evolutionaries. I'm your host, Colleen Akiko. This podcast is to help you feel more inspired, connected, and equipped to fully embody your purpose. Thank you for tuning in to enjoy this episode's journey of inner to outer compassionate transformation. And make sure to access your special gift at the end. Welcome to this introductory trailer for the podcast We Be the Change, Conversations with Conscious Evolutionaries. I am your host, Colleen Weaverbird Akiko, and I'm coming to you from the high desert mountains in northwestern Nevada. So while this is an audio podcast, you may find some pictures and visuals and related content on the We Be the Change blog. And you can find both the podcast and the blog on songrise.live. That's songrise.live. So, in case you're wondering about the podcast title, We Be the Change, well, those happen to just be words that feel good for me. I checked into the title Be the Change, thinking about Gandhi's directive to be the change you wish to see in the world, but that particular title is already being used a lot. So I like the little spark in We Be the Change because it's kind of like, hey, we are being the change. Yeah, that's essentially what the podcast is about. Each podcast guest personifies what being the change can look like as a human. And I think all the listeners here are humans, so could be relevant. And that's what we're steering this ship towards. So I'm glad you're hopping on board, and I hope you enjoy the ride. You know, Gandhi also said, the future depends on what we do in the present. So along those lines, I remember moments of witnessing when someone was so immersed in the present, in their element, that it really felt sacred. I'm thinking about the first time that I saw my really shy friend get on some water skis and just dance effortlessly across the waves on her water skis. I was stunned. And I'm also remembering my really introverted, reclusive dad, concert violinist dad, before he retired. He used to just be so quiet at home, but when he got on stage, he set that stage on fire. He just poured out his soul through his violin strings, and really, really gut level powerful. So you probably know someone who embodies their purpose so passionately, who lives their life as such a real beacon of light that somehow it melts any heaviness that might be in the vicinity. And this is the kind of energy that emanates from the trenches. It helps us move into our own transformation. So each podcast guest is speaking from this place, speaking from their heart. They are sharing really insightful treasures that are tucked away, often in some pretty rough backstories. So a lot of what you hear in these episodes are not sweet. They're pretty rough, but that's how life is sometimes. They're going to be speaking from their heart, and who knows, maybe their backstories will help you and me to remember some of the treasures that are in our own backstories. And so that's why I'm interviewing these evolutionaries. Each one is the proverbial candle who ignites the flames of the people around them. They radiate a love that knows no separations. And I really like talking with them. It's great. They share a real earthy kind of wisdom. And they have great real-life stories that somehow serve to rekindle my own stories, and hopefully yours too. These deep stories, I believe they can help us through the kind of escalating crises and traumas that we're experiencing in our world. I think of many of the anxious, tired people who just trudge through each day, and maybe they're even trying to help others just hold it together and keep on going. And maybe you are one of these earth angels. It is really a calamitous time that we're in. I'm thinking of one of Rumi's poems that says, "The darker the night, the brighter the stars. The darker the night, the brighter the stars." When somebody embodies kindness and empathy and courage and connection in what they're doing, they are a power star of compassion. So you will see and hear, well, you'll hear how each guest on We Be the Change is lifting up others, and they are uniting hearts in some pretty surprising, often creative, very unique ways. What if John Lennon is right? What if love is the answer? What if love is the only antitoxin for how fear has poisoned multitudes of people, putting horrible toxicity into the collective community? I do believe that this antidote is real love, and nothing but love. You know, I often remember about 15 years ago, I was by the Big Wood River in Idaho. I was feeling very unhappy and pretty emotionally exhausted, and I ended up kind of feeling called to sit with a grandmother tree. I sat for quite a while and found her to be very soothing. And at one point, Grandmother Tree conveyed to my whole being a really clear truth. And she said, "I am love with roots, and you are love with legs." That has been a touchstone for me. Each guest on this We Be the Change podcast helps us to remember that we are each and all love with legs. As we are walking around in our chaotic world, let's remember that we are capable of making more of a difference than we realize. You know, a few other ways that I find myself showing up include being a musical speaker, a transformational coach, a group and workshop facilitator, a singer-songwriter, and a content creator. In fact, I have created a little ebook especially for you. So just reach out on the contact page of the website I mentioned, and I would love to email it to you. There are also other resources awaiting you and details on how you can help support We Be the Change through a subscription. We have subscription options, and there's one that's just right for you. By the way, subscribers receive some wonderful perks, and they get some great bonus content as well. So feel free to head over and check it out. Thanks for listening. I'm looking forward to sharing these evolutionary conversations with you. And thanks for remembering to give the podcast a rating and a review, which will really help us in expanding our work in inspiring the inner to outer transformation we've been talking about. Remember, your feedback is welcomed and very appreciated. And remember too, we be the change that makes a difference. Thank you for joining us on this episode of We Be the Change. We hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. We'd love to hear your thoughts and send you a surprise gift in appreciation for your time and for your interest in being the change. Just head on over to songrise.live. That's songrise.live. Go to the contact page and tell us which episode you just heard and any feedback that you might have. We'll respond with a gift just for you. And while you're there, check out the other resources, songs, and subscription choices with their bonuses too. Also, thank you in advance for your podcast ratings and reviews. These help us greatly. So until next week, this is Colleen Akiko, appreciating that you showed up here with us to be the change.